Hi, I'm Caroline Camden, and today we're going to talk about the genre of different fantasies. Um, the genre of fantasy is so broad because there are thousands of books that you can choose from. If you like a more futuristic book, you are a ridiculous amount right now. There's Divergent and Hunger Games, The Giver, Matched, Fever. Dystopian worlds are really popular right now after the Hunger Games came out and are continuing with each new series and all these new sets of movies. Divergent, in particular, deals with finding your place in the world and fighting against the status quo and fighting for what's right. It's a particular favorite of mine and follows a young girl named Triss, and in her world, which is a futuristic Chicago, their society is split into 5 factions, and when they turn 16, they take a test that determines which faction they should choose. At the choosing ceremony, they still have the option to choose a different lifestyle, one they think they'd be better suited for. They still have the idea of free choice, of free will. The 5 factions are Amity, who believe in peace, Erudite, intelligence, Dauntless, bravery, Candor, believe in truthfulness and abnegation, selflessness. Each group believes that their trait will protect them from war and will lead their society to peace. But the test doesn't always work on some people, and with Triss, and as with Triss, it gave her 3 options. When she takes a test, these options are given and she's forced to choose which one she believes that she belongs in. Her state of being would be considered what they call divergent. And I think this whole class system is really interesting because everything you do in this world is based off of which faction you're in. If you're erudite, you're either a scientist or a teacher, something to do with your intelligence. If you're in abnegation, you sit on the city council, or you feed the poor, because they are considered selfless, so they put people's needs above their own. Amity counsel, and they grow the food, and while Candor runs the justice system, because they believe that truth is the most important. Dauntless, known for their bravery, are the soldiers and the police of the city. And they even have a saying, faction before blood, that puts their new class above their family. And this whole series follows Triss as she finds her place in the world and then goes on to fight against what the society really stands for. If you want something that's a little more magical, set in a more magical world, there are a couple of books I'd recommend. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe would be first. It focuses on family loyalty and trust, and has the 4 Pevensey children fighting to protect Narnia from an evil witch. It is set in World War II England and became really popular, has been really popular for decades. It's been out for a very long time, but became even more popular once the movie came out in 2005 and kind of had a new rebirth of interest. The 4 Pevensey children are living in England in World War II and are sent to the countryside by their mother to live with Professor Kirk whenever London comes under all these bombings. And while they're living there, the youngest child, Lucy, comes upon a wardrobe that transports her magically to the world of Narnia. Lucy is the youngest and one of the most important characters. It's her belief in what she can't see, her faith, and her innocence that leads the siblings to Narnia, and with her, they're able to save it from the evil White Witch. Her brother Edmund kind of acts as a counterpart from her and falls under the evil witch's spell. And his capture by the evil witch leads the other children to go and on an adventure to save him, and then eventually to save Narnia. A second book that I would highly recommend, of course, would be the Harry Potter series. It has the whole coming-of-age element that's really popular in young adult fiction, and also has the magical element. The series focuses on friendship and sacrifice, bravery, and definitely good versus evil. It follows the story of the young Harry Potter as he is catapulted in this world of magic. He grows up thinking he's this ordinary boy, less than ordinary, and finds out that he is in fact magical. It's set in the 1990s, so it's a little more modern than, say, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, which is set in the 40s, but is still definitely applicable today. He finds out in the first few chapters that he's not ordinary, that he's a wizard, and his aunt and uncle have raised him and never treated him right. And when he finds out how special he is, it completely changes his world. I have a little excerpt from the first book, and it will kind of shows how his feeling of inadequacy and realizing how special he is. Harry has just met the half-giant Hagrid and is about to learn who he really is. Okay. He passes the sausages to Harry, who was so hungry he had never tasted anything so wonderful, but he still couldn't take his eyes off the giant. Finally, as nobody seemed about to explain anything, he said, "I'm sorry, but I still don't really know who you are." The giant took a gulp of tea and wiped his mouth with the back of his hand. "Call me Hagrid," he said. "Everyone does. And like I told you, I'm keeper of keys at Hogwarts. You'll know about Hogwarts, of course." No," said Harry. Hagrid looked shocked. "Sorry," Harry said quickly. "Sorry?" barked Hagrid, turning to stare at the Dursleys, who shrank back into the shadows. "It's them as should be sorry. I knew that you weren't getting your letters, but I never thought you wouldn't even know about Hogwarts. For crying out loud, did you never wonder where your parents learned it all?" "All what?" asked Harry. "All what?" Hagrid thundered. "Now wait just a second." He leapt to his feet, and in his anger he seemed to fill the whole hut. The Dursleys were cowering against the wall. "Do you mean to tell me," he growled at the Dursleys, "that this boy, knows nothing about anything?" Harry thought this was going a bit far. He had been to school, after all, and his marks weren't bad. "I know some things," he said. "I can, do math and stuff." But Hagrid simply waved his hand and said, "About our world. I mean, your world. My world. Your parents' world." "What world?" Hagrid looked as if he was about to explode. "Dursley!" he boomed. Uncle Vernon, who had gone very pale, whispered something that sounded like Mimblewimble. Hagrid stared wildly at Harry. "But you must know about your mom and dad," he said. "I mean, they're famous. You're famous." "What? My mom and dad weren't famous, were they?" You don't know." Hagrid ran his fingers through his hair, fixing Harry with a bewildered stare. "You don't know what you are?" he said finally. Uncle Vernon suddenly found his voice. "Stop!" he commanded. "Stop right there, sir. I forbid you to tell this boy anything." A braver man than Vernon Dursley would have quailed under the furious look Hagrid now gave him. When Hagrid spoke, his every syllable trembled with rage. "You never told him? Never told him what was in the letter Dumbledore left for him? I was there. I saw Dumbledore leave it, Dursley, and you kept it from him all these years." "Kept what from me?" said Harry eagerly. "Stop! I forbid you!" yelled Uncle Vernon in panic. Aunt Petunia gave a gasp before her. "I'll go boil your heads, both of you," said Hagrid. "Harry, you're a wizard." There was silence inside the hut. Only the sea and the whistling wind could be heard. "I'm a what?" gasped Harry. "A wizard, of course," said Hagrid, sitting back on the sofa with a groan, and sank even lower. "And a thumpin' good one, I'd wager. Once you've been trained up a bit. With a mum and dad like yours, what else would you be? And I reckon it's about time you read your letter." That's just a little section of Harry Potter, and the whole series follows Harry as he grows up and faces the evil wizard, Voldemort. Though originally written for children, it is a great story for anyone from a very young age to older. My grandmother still loves it, and I started reading it when I was in 3rd grade. If you're more interested in something like mythology, you have Percy Jackson. The whole series takes on well-known Greek myths and brings them into a more modern setting. Percy, like Harry, finds out that all these strange things that have been happening to him throughout his life are because he is special. Percy is the son of a Greek god, Poseidon, and the series follows Percy as he learns to control his powers and to fight against the mysterious evil. You don't really find out right away who the bad guy is, and I don't want to spoil it for you, but the series really brings out the great Greek myths and puts them into a modern setting that really captures the imagination of today. And finally, there are books that follow more classic fairy tales, usually known as retellings of these fairy tales. I really liked The Goose Girl. It's originally a story from the Brothers Grimm, but Shannon Hale, the author, has retold it with more detail. She rounded the characters and gave them strengths and weaknesses, and some are conniving and manipulative, while others fight to survive. They all have different motivations. Princess Anadori is the main character, and she is betrayed by her guards and ladies in waiting when she is traveling to go and marry this new prince in a different kingdom, and no one knows who she is there. So when they leave her for dead, she must fight to survive, and she becomes a goose girl to survive until she can find her way back to her throne and to put things right. Fantasy novels are just so important because they really provide you with an escape for when you have nowhere else to go, and they can teach really important lessons that can be hard to learn otherwise. I know for me that's been a big thing throughout my life, is reading these kinds of books, and I know that that can really be something important for other students as well.